Welcome, everyone, back to the Unleash Your Radiance podcast. I'm your host, Lorena Christine, and I am so excited today because I'm joined by a very special guest. You may know her. I am here with Niyc Pidgeon, who is a triple certified business mentor, positive psychology coach, supporting heart-led entrepreneurs scale their businesses and create deeply rich and fulfilling lives. She also hosts incredible retreats around the world, and she is a published author. Niyc, welcome. I'm so excited to have you here on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I love being invited to amazing things. So here we are.
Amazing. Here we are. Yes, indeed. Niyc, I always open whenever I have a guest on the podcast, we always open with the question of what does radiant living mean to you?
For me, it is that feeling of vitality, clear thinking, clarity, energy, connectedness. It's the feeling that I would describe after I've been to Kundalini yoga class or after I've done my workout or my run, being able to live life on purpose from a place of feeling really present and really energized.
That's so beautiful. I love that. I really love how you talked about like living life on purpose. That
Mm.
is such a key thing, especially that we talk a lot about on the podcast, is stepping into your purpose and yeah, living a life that lights you up and that feels aligned and radiant in that sense as well. I actually haven't tried Kundalini yoga myself, but I've been hearing all the things about it, so it's on my list. But yeah, I'll have to give that a go to experience what that is.
It's
Um,
honestly, it's so good. And what it does, it works at building your radiant body. So it builds out the power and strength of your aura. So
yeah.
literally after I've been to class, people will stop me in the street and they'll be like, oh, I just wanted to say this or hi, and it's because you become so radiant. It's like a magnet. So you'll have to let
Okay.
me know when you do it, how it goes.
Okay, I will. That is definitely on my list. Yeah, it's been added to my list of like I love trying all the different wellness things out there, and that's one that I'm definitely adding on, especially if it's increasing your radiance. So
Oh
amazing.
yeah.
Love it. Niyc, I want to kind of just start off because I know I've been following you for some time. Your journey is just incredible. I know you've been in the entrepreneur space for 10 plus years or so, or maybe longer. We'll dive into that. But I know you've had incredible success in your own life, on your own journey, and your business as well, called Unstoppable Success. So if we just backtrack a little bit, I know you used to be personal trainer and psychology is kind of your background as well. What was the beginning like? Where did it all kind of start from to get you to where you are today?
Yeah, so I was a personal trainer back in Newcastle. And to say that is, I'm really proud of it because I
Yeah.
didn't used to like sport at a high school. I got bullied in PE. So it was a big career change for me to go from this unconfident, shy, geeky academic kid that ended up loving sport. And the reason that I started to find my love for it was a really, really pivotal time and trip in my life. I went to Australia when I was 17, 18 years old for a gap year. And I was supposed to be studying mechanical and automotive engineering at university. And
Okay.
I had two scholarships to go and do that. And when I went on this trip, my ex-partner, he was a England cricket player, and he was seeing like a sports psychologist at the time that said to him, like, we're going to do this visualization today, and I want you to imagine that you're out there on the cricket field and you've got the bat in your hand and you want to look for where you want the ball to go. So don't focus on the fielders, look for the gaps in between them instead. So I was like, oh my goodness. And it really helped me through that single conversation to realize the power that we have inside of ourselves and inside of
Yeah.
our minds. So I ended up going to study psychology with sports science at university because of that one conversation. I cancelled my engineering degrees. And then after that, I went to do a teaching and lecturing degree in psychology with sport and then a master's degree in positive psychology. So it was really born from me making a decision as a teenager to follow what felt like truth and what felt like my intuition. But on the outside, I must have looked like I was absolutely crazy.
I love that. Oh my gosh. And at such a young age too, because I think, so many of us at 17, 18 don't really know what our intuition maybe is unless we've been more exposed to that. But yeah, to do that at such a young age is incredible to make such a choice around that. And is that kind of where the positive psychology stemmed from as well?
Yeah, so I studied what we call psychology as usual. So
Yeah.
psychology as usual focuses more on disorder, disease, and how we can kind of categorize or classify that. and it looks at what goes wrong with people in the world rather than what goes right.
Yeah.
And probably about halfway through my undergrad degree, I saw a notice on a notice board for an after hours lecture from a researcher called Dr. Alona Boniwell. And it was talking about positivity and gratitude and all of these things. So I signed up for the after class lecture. I went to that. It was on a random Tuesday night. And when I was sat in that lecture theatre, I was like, I had that feeling again. I was like, oh my goodness, this is it.
Yeah.
This is it. So it's almost like I've had these, whether it's been like a little whisper from inside or it's been like a big alarm bell, I've had these like signposts in my life that have helped to guide me to the next right thing.
Yeah.
So from that, I decided to do my thesis on gratitude. And then I did my master's degree, which followed on from that. So I did a couple of years at university and then started to really deepen my study of strengths and human virtue. And I just think it's such a beautiful space to build a career within because as well as you helping other people feel better more of the time, you can't help but feel better yourself more of the time through the process as well.
Yeah, amazing. And for those who don't know much about positive psychology, like how would you kind of describe it in a nutshell?
So positive psychology is the study of happiness and success and how individuals, businesses, and communities can thrive. So it's just a really, I love it because it's a blend between the things that feel a little bit more holistic and ethereal, like meditation or like gratitude or like optimism, that people say sometimes are the soft skills or they're woo-woo,
Yeah.
but it's backed up by the evidence, it's backed up by statistics, science, and it really shows us through study and evidence what it is that really works. And I think it's unique in that regard because a lot of people will say, oh, well, happiness, like, why would I bother worrying about that? Why would I bother studying or thinking about that? But when you realize happiness is actually a science, then people really start to listen up.
Yeah, I can definitely see that when you have some of more of the science back things like I coach on manifestation and mindset. When you start bringing some of the neuroscience around behind it as well, people do kind of listen up a little bit more, I find, than versus like that woo woo. So I definitely can see what you mean with that as well. And yeah, I think sometimes, people can be more drawn to like the tangible side of things, right? Okay, the success, maybe the money or getting the clients along that side versus like that happiness and that mindset portion is such a important factor of it. Like it's such a key thing that goes into success, entrepreneurship, and really enjoying life in that sense.
Mm,
So given that, I
right?
wanted to talk about as well, what have you like, what are some of the major impacts that you've really seen, like maybe working with clients or like that positive psychology has had, could be in your own life or with your clients as well?
I mean, where do I start? It's completely transformative. And I think one of the
Yeah.
things that I hear myself saying all of the time is positive psychology, yes, it's a science, but it's not just a science. It's not just these amazing tools. It's really a way of life. And it's almost like you assimilate this new operating system because
Mm,
the way that you show up in every single thing that you do is completely transformed. So whether it is someone being able to close more sales in their business because they're now operating from a positive psychology approach and they're able to influence behavior change or influence decision making to a higher degree,
yeah.
or it's someone that is able to parent their children differently because they've now got more tools or they know how to communicate better, or it's strengthening a marriage. There's like, I feel like positive psychology is an umbrella that goes over it all. And
Mhm.
whether it's your health, your wealth, your relationships, whatever it is, you apply positive psychology and you integrate it within what you do, and you're going to be better and stronger because of that.
Yeah, that's so beautifully put. I love that. And yeah, speaking of that as well, like we were touching on that, like the wellness and the mindset around entrepreneurship and like the importance of that and being in that great headspace and having that positive outlook as well. Um, along your own journey as well, like how has that been impacted in your own journey as well, like around mental health and wellness?
Yeah, I think for me, like I had a really positive experience of studying positive psychology
Yeah.
at university. And I came out of that master's degree thinking that I was going to write a textbook because I
Okay.
was so passionate about the science. But that would have been so boring, first of all. And what I really realized was that the positive psychology is there for the hard times as well as the good times. And it
Mm,
was only when I really went through my own personal challenges and changes and struggles that I realized to what extent these tools can really help us.
yeah.
So I navigated, I mean, I say it's like it helps with daily disasters as well as the big traumas. So it's going to help you show up and not be affected by the little things, the little hassles in your day.
Yeah.
So I used to be the girl that would lose her keys and a handbag and her headphones, and I'd be like, oh my goodness. And then I was late and everything was a rush, and I would be so stressed out by these little things.
Yeah, I can
And
relate.
yeah, and now nothing stresses me out. Like there could be a full-scale crisis, and I'm like, right, okay, cool. Like we got this. It's fine. Like we're gonna figure it out. And then on the like larger traumas, I think what positive psychology has given me is a deep, deep trust
Mm,
in knowing that it's all going to be okay,
yeah.
in knowing that this challenge is only temporary. And I have the internal resources from this amazing science to be able to get through this and live brighter days. So I think in that, it's like, yes, we can use it when we want to go from good to great, but we can also use it during those times where I'm struggling to get up off the bedroom floor. And I'm like, this is so bad. This is so hard. How am I going to get through this? And it's like, you know what? We are going to get through this because there's no other choice.
Wow, that's amazing. And I think there's so much importance in that, especially what you said, like the smaller moments, but also the bigger moments. And especially like in times of crisis, like that resilience, right? In entrepreneurship, I think like having that resilience is so important and necessary to not let those things stress you out. Or, maybe a launch doesn't go as planned, or like you get, I don't know, something happens with a client or a business deal, right? Like if those things are gonna maybe break you, that's like, could offset some people from continuing on. But if you can show up with that resilience and navigate those situations from a place of so much more calm and certainty, like that's priceless. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's like it gives you almost like it gives you a roadmap, but it
Yeah.
also just gives you this inner sense of like the depths of the grittiness that we sometimes need to get
Yeah.
through life, but also the ability to hold a context that feels a lot lighter rather than it needing to feel like such a struggle all of the time.
Yeah, definitely. I'm familiar with the hope mapping theory, and I actually love that. And I use that with my clients at times because it really is so powerful for helping to like navigate, okay, there's going to be a challenge or setback. What's your like what's the word I'm looking for? It's like your well, that plan of action. There's a
Like the
word that's skipping.
pathway,
A pathway,
pathway.
yeah. I'm thinking of it like a contingency plan. If things were to like go up in flame, it's like, no, you still have a way around it. So I love that so much. It's such a great tool to have. And I know you also do certification for coaches around positive psychology as
Mhm.
well. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. So we train positive psychology coaches
Yeah.
in the framework so that they can go out and they can use it with their students, which is super cool.
Amazing. Oh, I love that. I'll leave a link for that in the show notes as well if anyone's interested in
Fab.
checking that out. And I want to talk about your book, Nick. I know you've just started to come out with a new book. Um, and yeah, let's dive into that. Tell me all about this new book you have. I know you're doing an event in London on the 19th of September as well, which I was planning to come to, but unfortunately I couldn't make it due to a date overlap, which I was absolutely
When?
gutted about because I was trying to come to your last event as well, and the timings just didn't align.
Next time. I'm
Next
just
time.
hoping we don't have a train strike on this one because every single event that I do in the UK, they always announce a train strike.
Oh my
But
God.
you know what? I've got positive psychology, so I can deal with these things.
I hope so. God, the train strikes are horrible. When I went to Bali not too long ago and I almost missed my flight completely coming from Edinburgh, I got the last flight out and because of the train strike. Yeah. And I had got left so much time, but yeah, probably could have used some positive psychology tools at that moment.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the book is filled with them. So I did
Yeah.
the first book a little while ago, which was a book for happiness. It was a 30-day guide to living your happiest life.
Yes.
This book takes the message a little bit deeper. And honestly, it feels like the most important work that I can do in the world
Yeah.
right now it's a book for mental health. It's a book about hope. It helps you find strength and resilience through your darkest times. And it's actually inspired by the loss of three of my close friends, all of
Yeah.
who died by suicide.
Oh, I'm so sorry to
And
hear that.
I know, well, when you look at the stats, it is so common now, and it makes me so passionate and energized because I know that it's preventable. It's actually the most preventable cause of death. And even in that, it feels like there's so much hope. And there's been all of these tools that amazing positive psychology researchers have been researching for 20 years, and nobody knows about them yet, or they know about the tools, but they don't necessarily know about the context that it can help so powerfully with preventing suicide. So now I'm on a mission to help the world become more mentally healthy, and I'm armed with these positive psychology tools. And I just want everybody to know that there's something that they can do to make a start. And there's ways that you can protect your mental health. There's ways that you can prevent going into these declines. And it really does start with us, and it starts right now. So I think it's a
Yeah.
very, very important message that we get to share.
Beautiful. I love that. And that's one more day, right? We can see the copy of it
Yeah.
in the background as
One more
well.
day. I know. It's
One
so
more
happy and
day.
sunny.
That's so beautiful. I love that you are bringing so much of this hope to such a topic that so many people, well, it can be a very dark topic. A lot of people have been impacted by it before. You yourself, you're saying you personally with friends, which again, I'm very sorry to hear,
Mhm.
but the fact that you are taking this into this positive light now and sharing this message with so many people is such a beautiful and powerful thing that I think sometimes, when people can feel like that, there's a sense of feeling lost, of like not no sure what direction to take, isolation, not being able to open up. Like, I know I've definitely struggled with my own mental health as well before. It's run in my family, so I've seen family members struggle with it. And yeah, it can be such an isolating place, but when you have the tools there with you and knowing that there's support out there, that is can be so impactful for so many people. So yes,
Mhm.
keep spreading that
And one of
word, keep
the,
spreading that word.
thank you. One of the biggest things is connection. It's like
Yeah.
for your community, knowing that you're here for them and with them, and your words are resonating. They can put on an episode of the show anytime they need a little pick me up. That connection, being able to message you on Instagram, or having that one friend that you can call, or knowing who your people are that are your cheerleaders, because we all have
Yeah.
different friends for different things, like different strengths. And it's knowing that you're actually never alone, self with each other and with a higher power and purpose. And I just think in that we get to live life in a much better way, because it's miserable when you're lonely, and it's
Yeah.
way more fun when we do it together. So it's
Yes.
almost like we're linking arms and we're like taking on this thing in the world to make the whole world a better place.
Oh, it's so true because it's like one then I think it's so important sharing your story and any, struggles you've had along the way as well, because I know when I've listened to other people's stories or podcasts or read a book, like, and it's someone who has gone through a similar situation I have, where I can see myself in their story. It's like it brings that sense of hope and you're like, "Oh, I don't feel so alone. I can see there's like a way out around this as well," right? So yeah, it's so important because that isolation is such a killer, but when we can come together in community, and that's where we're naturally community oriented people, right? Like we need that to thrive in order in life as well. So it's such an important thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like having that sense of belonging, whether that
Yeah.
is in an online community or whether it's in a in-person community. It just makes life so much richer. It gives us that the depth of feeling, and just gives us a little something something in our day.
Yeah. Oh, I totally agree. Community is so, so important. And I know just from seeing, your work as well, community is such an important thing within that. And you're doing retreats and so many group programs as well. Like just going back to a little bit, like how did you get really started in the coaching industry as well? And what was that growth journey like?
I studied coaching at university.
Yeah.
So I had, again, it was supposed to be an applied degree, but I
Yeah.
felt like I came out of that degree and I still didn't really know what I was doing. And
Okay.
it's one of the inspirations, or one of the motivations for me developing the certification, because it took me many, many years of practicing coaching, of running online businesses, and of doing my positive psychology work, for me to finally kind of put all of the puzzle pieces together and say, oh, like when you integrate it in this way, then that's how it actually works. So I started coaching in Newcastle, and I was charging £40 an hour. And I was so scared and I was so nervous.
Mm.
And every single night before I would do a coaching session, I'd be thinking to myself, what if I'm not good enough? Or
Mm.
what if my client isn't happy? Or what if I don't get them a breakthrough? So it was
Yeah,
all of this internal pressure on myself. And it was because I didn't have like a proven framework, proven tools, proven structure for sessions. So I was kind of going in, and even though I was really good at what I did, I didn't have the certainty in myself.
the confidence. Yeah.
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 So it was I mean, I say that the first 5 years of my businesses were market research, which means that I just did a really bad job and made no money. But
Oh,
it taught me so much because after I left the UK, so I was still personal training and I
yeah.
loved it so much that I knew that I needed a big change to actually restructure and like shuffle the patterns that I was in. So I left the UK, I moved out of my apartment, I sold my car, and I went to Australia, first of all, with my suitcase. And I remember saying to my dad, I'm so scared. Like, I am so scared. And he said, you know what, Nick? It's fine. Because if it doesn't work out, you can always come home. And
Oh,
in the simplicity of that message, and I think it really echoes like so much of life and so much of positive psychology. It doesn't have to be complex or like complicated, but in the simplicity, there's so much power. So I left, I took my business online. I started to coach in packages and programs instead of single sessions. And that meant that I was coaching more towards results. And I ended up growing my business from leaving the UK, literally just having me, some Wi-Fi in a cafe somewhere, and my dream. I was doing sales calls out of my friend's spare bedroom, and I ended up making $100,000 in the first 100 days of my business, and then going
wow.
on to make 1 million before I was 30, and then on and on and on from there. I'm having a multi-million-dollar business and all of the things, moving to Los Angeles and being able to work with tens of thousands of students. And it just feels really, really amazing to do the work that I love that creates a big impact. And I get to be myself. Like you and I doing this show today, me at the gym, me at dinner with my friends. It's the same. Niyc Pidgeon, which I
Yeah.
love. I'm very grateful for that.
Amazing. Oh, that's such a beautiful story. And I love that, you do share that. Like you're like, yeah, I was so scared in the beginning. I didn't have the confidence, I was worried if I was good enough getting the results. And then like the success you've had now to like this multi-million dollar business, like creating impact with hundreds and thousands of entrepreneurs around the globe is absolutely amazing. And the fact that, yeah, you are still you in the process. Like that's such a
Mhm.
beautiful, beautiful thing. Thank you so much for sharing that as well. And, from that journey as well, like what would you say has been like some of the like the biggest, I would say the biggest challenge that you had to overcome along that journey of going from like 40 pounds per hour to multi-million dollar business now?
I mean, how long have you got? And I think this is so important to emphasize.
Yeah,
Like, it's not going to be easy along the way. Like, I
exactly.
thought as soon as I get out of Newcastle, as soon as I set up my business and I have like 10K months and I've got this freedom-based lifestyle, everything's going to be easy. And
Yeah.
you know what? It just got harder and harder and harder and harder, but it was a different kind of hard.
Yeah.
So I think of it like levels and it's like a game. And my first level was understanding how to make money in the first place.
Yeah.
So it's almost like in these types of businesses, you have to kind of get over level one of how do I create more conversations, generate more inquiries, understand the sales process, and be able to actually move clients to a buying decision so that they
Yeah.
can get results working with me. So I kind of got over that thing. And then the next part was, okay, then how do I scale the business? And it's a very, very different conversation to go from making cash to actually scaling through millions. So
Yeah.
then I had to master scalability. And then there's just so many different things that come up. I've done 2 best-selling books. I've got a third one that I'm writing now,
Oh, wow.
managing, flying all around the world to speak on stages, dealing with growing a team. Like I had 38 people working in the team at one point.
Wow. Okay.
So then you become a manager of people rather than a speaker and author that's doing coaching. You're also a speaker and author a CEO, leading a team, and some of the decisions that you have to make can be incredibly challenging.
Yeah, I
Then
can
you add
imagine.
on top of that, I was going through burnout, adrenal fatigue, heavy metals poisoning, mold poisoning, all of these different challenges where I don't think it's any different for any of us. Like we're all operating from a different kind of hard.
Mm,
And whether you've got a job, a business, a small business, a huge business, there's going to be challenges. And that's why it is so important that we work on ourselves and we develop our character, our attitudes, our mindset, our psychology, our internal resources, so that no matter what it is that life throws at us, losing some of my friends,
yeah.
like it doesn't matter, it all goes into this big bucket of life, and it's like, how are you going to deal with that? Because you can either deal with it and do your best and know that you've worked on yourself so that it's going to feel easier for you, or you can allow it to keep you feeling and often actually being stuck in your life. So for anyone that's listening that wants to grow in their career, in their job, or set up a business, I can't emphasize enough the importance of working on yourself and your mental health so that you can actually do a really good job of doing
Yeah. Oh my gosh. You're preaching to the choir. Like I'm such a
it.
huge advocate for this as well, how much the inner work is so important for again overcoming those challenges. And yeah, I think what you said is so spot on. Like it is a different kind of hard. Like the more you grow, you're growing into this different area of wells as well. So it's like stepping into that. One thing I want to touch on as well is like as you're going through these stages, like we talk about like new level, new devil, but like the identity work behind it as well. What was that like for you to go from that beginning stage to like, yeah, running a multi-million dollar business, managing a team of 38, being an author, like there's so many hats you're wearing as well. So I imagine that was like quite an identity shift to like step into that new role.
Yeah, and I actually don't think that those type of shifts are the most challenging,
Yeah.
because it comes with a certain like boost to your ego. And it's like, ooh, now I run this big team, or oh,
Mm,
cool, now I've got this award. And I think you really have to remember that the reason that we do this work is
yeah.
because we're in service. We're
Yeah.
in service for the highest good of all, for the greater good of humanity and the planet. And if one of the ways we can get our message across is have spoke money or appear on TV or we're on sold out stages, then that is a really amazing, beautiful thing. I also recognize that at times the ego of having a big team is a great example. I remember the first time I scaled a team to, I think, about 20 people. I was so proud of it, but I
Of
wasn't
course.
necessarily good at it.
Mm,
So I ended up shrinking that team down to about 8 people and then rebuilding it again in a very different way.
okay.
And for me, I didn't know what it was going to be like until I actually moved through it, but I had made decisions more from a place of looking at other people's businesses or looking at my mentor who was earning maybe 10 times what I was earning at the time, and saying, right, well, I need a business like that. So I'm going to model it on that. And that actually wasn't right for where I was at. So my identity shifts in that way had felt really easy. It was more the identity shifts in the other direction, or where I've made big pivots and changes in the business that haven't necessarily been related to that celebrity or that success.
Yeah.
So a great example is this new book that I'm writing, because this book for a lot of people makes zero sense from the outside looking in, because they're like, why is she, when she's like such a successful like business person and she's scaled these companies and she's doing all of this stuff, why is she now talking about suicide prevention? And for me, it makes the most sense, because if you don't have your health and your mental health,
Yeah.
then there's no possible way you can grow and scale a business. Trying to think about getting through the next hour when you're having a bad day and you're really suffering inside is hard enough. Never mind trying to focus on a big vision or your goals. So I actually am now in the process of educating and re-educating around what it really means to be a successful entrepreneur. and how hard it is behind the scenes and how dangerous it is for us to look at people's highlight reels and think that that's real life. Because
Yes.
I guarantee every single person that you see online, every single friend that I know has got something going on in their life and
Yeah.
business, that it's private life, it's going on behind the scenes. People aren't necessarily seeing it on the front side of their social media, which might look all shiny, or they might share a glimpse of it, but it actually is happening. And we do need resources and we do need each other to be able to weather those storms. So moving into the identity of not just being a successful businesswoman or not just being an author and a speaker, but actually now having the integrated role of being a leader that takes scary, courageous steps to
Yes.
educate in something that hasn't been shared or said before. Because remember, this research is done in the background behind the scenes, and it's in journal articles that take me 2 days to pore over sometimes to get one
Yeah.
sentence to pull out for the book in a casual conversation. And it feels like that is very exciting, but it's also required a high degree of trust in myself and my intuition, knowing that this is the path that is right to walk for me. And the way that I know that it's right is because of the way that it feels. So it's
Yes.
almost like letting go of the expectation and shedding any ego. And even if people don't like it, I'm good with that because I like
Yes.
it.
Oh, I have like chills almost. That was I absolutely love that so much. And I fully agree that maybe it's not the most sexiest topic that people want to talk about, the suicide prevention or the hard days of being an entrepreneur, but I don't think it's talked about enough because I think like
Yeah.
as you said, you do see the highlight reels. You see people being like, I just worked 4 hours a day and like this is my life and it's so easy. Like, but it's like, okay, well, what's going on behind the scenes of like getting that? And like, yeah, great, you can be successful and have all the money in the world, but if you're miserable on the inside, that's not going to do anything for you, right? Your health, your wealth, or your happiness, like that is to me is pure wealth. And like then everything else is just a bonus added on, right? So, and exactly like you
Mhm.
said, and I think with that level of more eyes on you and more success, the pressure is higher there as well, like to perform at a certain level. So if you're not doing great on the inside and that pressure is there, like my aunt actually, she was a very successful CEO at a company, and she died from depression and had a nervous breakdown because of the
Wow.
pressure of being in, at the time it was, I think this was more in the 90s. So it was very much a man's world. And, I saw kind of firsthand how that went and the pressure of it by not speaking up and putting on that tough woman act and Miss Independent. So I think it is so important. And I think it's beautiful that you are bringing more light to that as well, because people definitely need that. So yes, that is great. Be that trailblazer and keep going forward with that, because I think that's so
Thank
important.
you. I feel
Yeah.
like now I'm going to make a reel for Instagram that's going to be like making suicide prevention sexy.
Yes, yes, it is. But it's like, I love that you said you're bringing like that hope and that like the positivity to it, being like, you're not alone. There is a way, there's a way out. There's like tools here, and it's like you have that support. So it's beautiful.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. I'm
amazing.
here for it.
Oh, well, I'll leave the link as well for the book in the show notes as well. I'm
Thank you
excited to
so
read it.
much.
Yeah, I'm so excited to read it. One topic I wanted to touch on as well, because we do talk about this on the podcast also, going back onto the psychology of becoming rich in that sense. Like, I know it's such a shift. You hear so much about like that wealthy mindset, and it's not always just this action step you're taking, but it's who you're becoming on the journey and the mindset behind that as well, and the energetics. Can we dive into that a little bit? Like, what is sort of like that psychology that you really see behind that level of becoming rich in that sense?
I mean, to get rich, you have to feel that you are first. So
Yeah.
when you look at any of the manifestation teachings, it's all about how do you want to feel, not
Yeah.
what do you want to get. It's more what is the thing that you're going to get? How is that going to make you feel? And
Yeah.
how can you call up the way that you want to feel first so that you can start to receive that which is in emotional and energetic alignment for you?
Hmm.
So, like, I'm like a total daydreamer. I remember this one time, my friend, I was standing in a line for at a restaurant or a cafe or something, and she was like, Earth to Nick, is anyone there? And I was like, oh my goodness, like, sorry, I was like in a daydream in my vision, like
Yeah.
on Necker Island with Sir Richard Branson. And she was like, what? And I just have lived so much in that future vision and version of myself, whether it's just daydreaming about it or it's writing a gratitude letter about it, or
Mm,
it's getting excited about it, you want to add and load the emotional energy, because when you are in a state of positive emotion, you're more open. You are in like what's called the broaden and build phase and theory,
yeah.
where you're able to receive success more easily, reach your goals more quickly, develop relationships better. And as well as that, it's also more enjoyable in the process because you're going to
Hmm.
feel better on the way to the goal.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love that too. I'm a big fan of Neville Goddard's work, The Law of Assumption, like just
Old
leaning into
school.
that. Yeah, yeah, I've been really focusing on that a lot and bringing that into my own teaching as well. And it's such a beautiful practice of like, yeah, really feeling that gratitude, visualizing as if it's already happened, like every morning getting into that. And you feel so excited for this like vision that you've just visualized. And it's like you're as if you're already living it. And then the next thing you know, it's your reality and it's happening along the way as well.
Yeah, and it's like, how do you want it to turn out, and how can you
Yeah.
script that? Like, I love Zig Ziglar's work, and he's so big on speaking into existence that which you want to realize right now.
Yes.
So it's really easy because the negative is stronger than the positive. So you want to be energizing the positive 3 to 5 times more than the negative, because
Yeah.
it takes 3 positive thoughts or emotions to outweigh a single negative.
Okay, I did not know that. I love that.
Mhm.
Three positive thoughts to outweigh a negative. Okay, amazing. I know Abraham Hicks, they talk about it takes 17 seconds to feel that positivity of a thought. So if you're focusing on something you want to manifest, focus on it for 17 seconds. And then if you constantly are amplifying that more and more, it's like exceeding that vibration as well. So it's raising that frequency behind it.
Yeah, exactly. There's also something that says I'm sure it was 3 seconds to decline into a negative thought, into a downward spiral, or 21 seconds to bring yourself back up.
Oh,
But even if
wow.
we use the 17 seconds from Abraham, imagine like negative thinking can take you down as fast as 3 seconds.
Yeah.
And it takes you 17 seconds to build it back up. And what we're trying to do is just repeat the negative thoughts all of the time and think that everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
So I love those kind of really simple but statistical, like numerical examples where you can see, right, okay, so now I've got to sit and focus for 17 seconds for every negative thought that I have.
Yeah. Oh man, it's so true. And it's like, it's really about who you're being along that process as well, right? When you're trying to create that success or create more wealth in your life, it's like being that first because we manifest who we are, right? And you're just naturally like overflowing in all areas of your life. Like I know with the work that I do with the clients, and it sounds very similar to some of that as approaches as well with the positive psychology. It's like when you just naturally start becoming that version of yourself, feeling into those emotions, you show up as a better person in all areas of your life. So you naturally attract in the more aligned opportunities, the better relationships, like feeling good on all levels, like the joy. So it's like a byproduct of that inner work.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Amazing. Well, Nick, I have absolutely loved this conversation. I could go on for ages. Is there anything else you want to share? Maybe someone along their journey of like new entrepreneurship or diving into business, positive psychology. What's some wise words you'd love to leave the listeners with?
Yeah, I think it's the coming back to the concept of simplicity and knowing that it's what you do daily that actually creates the biggest difference over time. It can sometimes feel frustrating, or it can sometimes feel like there's no point
Mm,
in doing the small, making small positive choices in your day. But what we see is that those small positive choices compound to create the like almost like a snowball effect over time, where you can look back and you see the compounding effect and just how much of a different person you've become and how different your life has become because of it as well. So do not underestimate the power of those small positive daily choices.
amazing. I love that. It's so beautiful. And yeah, I think the simplicity is something we can often forget, thinking it needs to be these big, complex, like, massive things when sometimes it is those small things that really have those big changes as well.
Yeah.
Incredible. So yeah, I will leave. When's the date of your book that's officially coming out as well?
The 24th of September, but you
Okay.
can pre-order it now. So depending on when you're listening to this episode of the show, you can either order it or pre-order it, and you can get it all at onemoredaybook.com or just at any of your favorite places where you like to get your books, your audiobooks and your Kindle. So Amazon, Target, Waterstones, Barnes and Noble, all of the things.
Amazing, amazing. And if someone's interested to work with you at the moment as well, what are some of the best ways to work with you right now?
So PPCA is our Positive Psychology Coach Academy certification. It's all on my website. You can just go to nick.com and you can see it on there and explore that. I've also got money mindset courses. I've got all sorts of different things. Our elite level mastermind, the retreats, the events. I love being in person. So that's one of my highest excitements, getting into community and just being able to connect with everyone from around the world.
Beautiful. I love that so much. And I'll put all the links in the show notes as well. So thank you so much for your time, Nick, coming on today. I know the listeners are going to get so much value from that episode as well.
Thank you so much for having me.
Amazing.